The lives of the Rohingya people have been characterized by disruption. They have faced decades of systematic discrimination and targeted violence in Rakhine State, Myanmar. Since August 2017, 745,000 people, including 400,000 children, have been forced to flee to Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. The disruption to their lives does not stop there. Displaced from their homes, Rohingya refugees have been forced to adapt to a new life in the world's largest refugee camp. While the humanitarian response provides some basic aid and services, the Rohingya remain vulnerable to monsoon rains and lack access to education and jobs. The arrival of COVID-19 compounded the precarious situation in the highly congested camps. Many humanitarian activities were suspended altogether in 2020. Ground Truth Solutions has been asking Rohingya in Cox's Bazar about their views since 2017. We take what they tell us and feed this back to humanitarian actors with the aim of making the response more reactive to the needs and wishes of the people it aims to serve. However, when the pandemic took hold and we reached out to partners to brainstorm ways to adapt our work to a remote model, they wanted to talk about something else. What the data was telling us and the situation on the ground did not seem to match up. People often reported curiously high levels of satisfaction with services, seemed to downplay problems in camps, and remained silent on abusive behaviour. In contrast, qualitative research painted a much bleaker picture. This feedback was concerning, especially considering the added challenges of the pandemic. Together with IOM, our partners in country, we knew we needed to get to the bottom of this. Why did the Rohingya not feel comfortable sharing their honest feedback about their experiences? Clearly, trust was at the heart of the issue. How would people respond if a trusted friend asked them these same questions? We set out to discover if Rohingya refugees would respond differently if interviewed by another member of the Rohingya community, compared to someone outside their community, such as a Bangladeshi interviewer. The findings were clear. People interviewed by Rohingya interviewers were far less satisfied with aid services than those interviewed by Bangladeshis. They were considerably more negative than those interviewed by Bangladeshis about whether humanitarians listen to their opinions or are approachable if they have questions. They were far more likely to admit to behaviour that might be seen negatively, such as selling food aid to buy other things they need. Considering these people received the same services, 58% of those interviewed by Rohingya said that they receive food they do not eat, compared to only 4% of those interviewed by a Bangladeshi. When given a safe space to tell their story, people report that they don't receive enough food, particularly fruits and vegetables, that food is often rotten or of bad quality, or that they're receiving food that they don't normally eat. Most worryingly, a far higher proportion reported instances of abuse or mistreatment by humanitarians, while 17% of those interviewed by a Rohingya interviewer reported having witnessed someone in their community be threatened by a humanitarian. No one reported this behaviour to Bangladeshi interviewers. Similarly, people interviewed by Rohingya interviewers are almost 30 times more likely to admit to having witnessed rude behaviour by humanitarians. Compared to our previous data collections, an entirely different picture of their daily struggles emerged. Feedback from affected people is a valuable commodity and crucial to inform any response. If we're not getting an accurate picture of the situation on the ground, we might be placing our efforts in the wrong area or missing problems that need to be addressed. More importantly, how can people feel empowered to take part in decisions that affect their lives if they can't express themselves honestly? Our work exists to disrupt the status quo, but we must be prepared to have our own work challenged, questioned, and in this case, disrupted as well. Accurately capturing people's views requires more than simply asking the right questions. This research shines a light on yet another important reason to properly engage affected communities in their humanitarian response. In this case, Rohingya researchers asked questions in a way most suited to the Rohingya way of speaking, understood community dynamics and issues, and collected data with trust at the forefront. We must equally spend time understanding the concerns of the host community and supporting and encouraging an ongoing dialogue. It's the only way to tackle the lack of trust at the root of the problem. In times of crisis and disruption, where humanitarian aid is needed more than ever, acting on accurate data is key. If we fail to understand the present, the Rohingya will not have a path out of disruption.